Hey, it's Jon Cook with Keynote Content. I wanted to connect with you today because specifically when you look around the world, with COVID-19 has disrupted virtually every industry in the world. And then with the recent US elections, and there's still some uncertainty about kind of the fallout from that, what that might mean from a change standpoint, opportunities, lost opportunities, whatever it might be, there's just a lot of stress. And what your audience is needing right now is that they need to know, does anybody care about what I'm feeling? Does anybody care about what I'm experiencing, what I'm going through, what it means for my coworkers, for my family, for my business, whatever it might be? And what they need right now is empathy. And you've probably heard this term of empathy before several different times. And it's a popular word that I hear many different speakers, many different service experts and authors use this idea of empathy. Empathy. But what does empathy actually mean, and what does that actually convey to your audience that they need to know from you? So what I want to share with you is this definition first of what is empathy. And I've seen a number of different definitions, but the best definition I've seen so far comes from the Cambridge English Dictionary. It's the ability, and empathy is defined as the ability to share someone else's feelings by imagining what would it be like to be in that person's situation. Very simple definition, but it's so accurate. What can I share from a feelings, from an experiences standpoint, if I could just picture myself in their shoes? You've heard the term about walking a mile in someone else's shoes. And there's a lot of truth to that, because it says, how do I know what somebody's going through? How can I be able to identify what they're feeling unless I could imagine myself in that situation? Now, I will say that empathy is far more natural for some of us compared to others, and some people might even ask, like, can I even nurture empathy? Can I even cultivate empathy? I absolutely believe that you can, but there are different types of empathy. So I want to look, again, with empathy, there are three different types. Really, there are five different types, and I'll mention two of the five types first that we won't really focus on today. The two types I won't really focus on is somatic and spiritual empathy. So somatic empathy is really tied into that feeling somebody else's physical pain by inflicting that same physical pain on yourself, or giving yourself license to experience the same physical pain. So there's also some weird phenomenon, like somebody can say, like, identical twins. There have been reports in different studies that show, like, a identical twin can sometimes almost sense when their twin experience some physical pain, saying where it's like, oh, my sister hurt her knee. Well, wait a second, you're 1,000 miles away from your sister, but how do you know? But then you text and it's like, oh, hey, did you recently hit your knee on, like, on the coffee table or whatnot? And you're being so, yes, I didn't even text you about that. How do you know? There's something about a somatic pain or a somatic empathy saying, like, oh my gosh, I know what that feels like. Oh, you must be in a lot of pain because it's right around the right side of your knee, right? There's some weird phenomena, like I said. So the first one is somatic. Second one is that spiritual empathy, is saying, like, that feeling or that experience connected to, like, a higher being or God or whatever you might believe in. And again, we won't focus on those two, but those are two of kind of the five recognized types of empathy. What I want to focus on today is really those three different types of empathy. The first one is that cognitive empathy. And bringing it into the context of right now, living in the United States, potentially a massive shift, potentially another massive upset in the U.S. Presidential election, people saying, like, hey, everybody expected Trump to win, but really Biden, it looks like he might be winning. Or, best 2016 was like, hey, everybody expected Clinton to win, but Trump actually won. The whole point is cognitive empathy says, I think I know what you're feeling, or I think I understand the feelings and experiences you're going through right now. And cognitive empathy has one huge danger. Well, a couple dangers, but one huge danger is that it can be under emotional, or it can be completely detached. So in a cruel sort of way, a very dark side of cognitive empathy is that somebody saying, what is going to inflict the most pain on a victim? Whether you're a torturer or whether somebody was you're just a cruel person. The dark side is saying, like, if I can think about what will cause them the greatest pain, that I can influence the same greatest pain. And that's horrible. But we need to acknowledge that not all empathy is wielded properly. And so for your audience saying, like, they don't need somebody saying, hey, I think you're in pain. They don't want you to think that they're in pain. They want you to feel their pain. And we'll get into that a little bit. But the dark side is this almost an under emotional or even a disconnected. And that's a trap to get into. But saying, okay, from a cognitive empathy standpoint, what your audience needs to know is going like, am I even thinking about their pain in the first place? I need to be able to recognize somebody is in pain. And in that space saying, what does that mean for me? Again, back to that definition from Cambridge English Dictionary. It's the ability to share someone else's feelings by imagining what it would be like to be in that person's situation. Saying, unless I'm putting myself in their shoes, unless I'm understanding what's it like to have those conversations with your partner or with your kids, your coworker, your business partner, whatever it might be. I need to be thinking about what is the pain my audience is feeling right now, and what does that actually translate to what's driving that pain. It's a heartache, it's disappointment, it's fear, it's whatever it might be, and tapping into that. So cognitive empathy is the first type of empathy, and it's probably the least beneficial right now. But the second type of empathy your audience is looking at is emotional empathy. And emotional empathy has some really interesting nuances to it. It's the ability to express feelings based on how you're seeing others express feelings, because they are in the expressed or the experienced pain or experienced feelings, and you are able to be able to reflect the same feelings back to that. Now, danger with that is that it's the and up here it's a dark side, or like a potential trap or problem, whatnot. Down here, kind of a trap in the emotional empathy is it's overly emotional, whereas the contrast to the cognitive empathy, it's under emotional. So the over emotional is somebody saying, "Oh, I can cry at the drop of a hat." Well, that doesn't really help anybody. And so what we want to look at is the over emotional, saying they don't want you to just say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you." Yes, I'm so happy for you. But what does that actually mean? Or they're so sad, they're heartbroken. Yes, I'm sad and heartbroken with you, but what does that actually change? Two people who are crying together doesn't really change beyond just that instance. So saying, look, yes, let's absolutely cry together. Let's absolutely express that emotional. Let's say a beautiful part with this is that the over emotional, the emotional empathy, yeah, the trap is being overly emotional, but the great benefit is that you can express that emotion. And going back to the cognitive empathy, saying a great benefit with the cognitive empathy is that it's not just tied with emotion, but it truly it's engaging both sides of your brain. So it's engaging the logic. It goes beyond okay, my audience is in pain, or they're feeling elation, or they're feeling this type of experience, but it's engaging logic, saying why are they experiencing this? What are the drivers behind that? What caused them to get in the situation in the first place? So the expressing the emotion and the benefit on emotional empathy is saying, I know what you're going through right now, and I feel that hurt too. I feel a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainty, lack of clarity. I feel that there's some hope. I feel like this could be a change, whatever it might be. 2020, it was an awful year for so many businesses but 2021 is already starting to see like this wave of new hope. And you might be sensing that cautious optimism. I'm sensing it too. I want to be able to step into 2021 with fullness and show up as the person I truly want to be, but expressing that emotion in a helpful way, going where I say, I understand that this is probably causing you a little bit of anxiety as well. But not just expressing emotion, but it's saying, how do I show them that I'm human too? And so it's the, show you're a human. Cognitive empathy, again, can fall into the trap is going like non-expressive, emotional, stoic. But again, the third part, and truly this is the third type of empathy that I really want us to focus on, is this compassionate empathy. And what I believe this does is it truly engages both the cognitive empathy and emotional empathy, but in a compassionate empathy says this is an action based. And truly, again, as with the others, kind of the trap is the just doing something, just fix this ASAP. Yeah, this hurts. Yeah, there's a lot of certainty. Yeah, I know what's really causing this, but let's get this fixed ASAP. And for me, I've been married more than 8 minutes, and many times my wife will express to me, this is something that's giving her a lot of anxiety or a lot of pain or something where she's just not having, she's having a real struggle or challenge, saying, cool, I understand this is causing you a lot of pain, and probably what it is because you didn't have a good plan in place for this, but let's just fix this as soon as possible. So that's a trap to get into unless you stay into the why am I here? Why am I feeling these? Why are they feeling these situations? Why are they having this experience? And the benefit, though, if we do this right with your audience, doing this right, compassionate empathy is saying, I can acknowledge that there is logic with the cognitive empathy and there is emotion, and saying I can express the feelings that you're feeling and taking it to the next level of saying, let's do this together. Let's turn these feelings into an opportunity to do something, to act on that. And that's where you get into altruistic behavior, that heroic behavior, as it were, or taking a heroic activity, which is tied into endorphins, which is tied into a number of different other factors, where it says, let me do something heroic, let me do something for the greater good. And both of those factors are what our world is starving for right now. Your audience is craving you in a way to show up for the greater good, to show up for more people, to not be selfish, and not even stay. Your audience doesn't want you to show up where you can say, okay, I think what happened is that because you're upset because there's a lot of uncertainty about where 2020 is going to finish and where 2021 is going to go, and I get that, and that has me scared too. And there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of nobody really knows what this is going to mean in the future. Nobody knows when we're going to really kind of get our arms around this COVID-19 pandemic and actually have an effective vaccine. And what does that mean? What does it mean for businesses and schools and educations and churches and community centers and all these other amazing circles that you want to be tied into? And saying, what I know right now, what I know to be true is that you are in control of how you respond to the world around you. Yeah, it's easy to get stuck in fear. It's easy to get stuck with saying, I don't know what's going to happen next. No, but I know what I can do right now. Something that I can do is saying, how can I do something heroic, not for my benefit, but for the benefit of somebody else today? How can I show love and kindness and compassion to other people for the greater good? And really there's this this concept that I've been working on for the last year, is this idea of tying in neuroscience, specifically neuromarketing, with this concept of empathy. And I call it that kind of hybrid concept is neurempathy. It's saying, how do I tie in what's driving the thoughts on the neuroscience side of things? Why is my audience thinking this way from a cognitive standpoint, and why are they feeling this way from an emotional standpoint? And if I can tie in how they're thinking, what's driving their thinking, to what they're feeling, and together, that allows me to use neuroempathy to get closest to the situation and serve them the best, better than anybody else. So today is about finding out, where are you showing up from an empathy standpoint? And it's okay if you're showing up with cognitive empathy and saying, I'm more of a thinker, I'm not really a feeler. That's okay. You can continue to nurture it where you say, I understand the emotions, the feelings behind why somebody's expressing it that way. You might say, oh, I'm an easy crier. I'm a sympathetic crier. That's amazing. That's great. That's how you're wired. But saying, let's not just express emotion without having the why behind it. Why is somebody feeling that? So when we compare these two together, to truly take a compassionate response and breathe more empathy into your message, breathe more hope into the world around us, make it a great day. And as I'm going through this, you might say, I have no clue where to even express that empathy. I don't even know how to even talk about this in my Facebook ads, in my social media, and on my podcast, on my blog, and my website, and when I'm talking on this webinar. I don't know how to even express that empathy to the people around us. What I recommend is you go to workwithjoncook.com, fill out a form, we'll hop on a call, we'll talk about empathy and what that means for you and your audience, and how we can share more greater good, more hope, more light and love into the world around us. For now, though, make it a great day. Catch you next time.